It's nice to get this back. Information change.
Walk around campus and I'll say one thing and I'll send you and they'll be like, and you just walk away. I'll be like, I'm going to just have to.
240 is the record of the 3D printing.
Okay, looks like we're at that time for our next presentation, so I'll turn the time over to you gentlemen and take it away.
All right. Great. Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming out. So I'm James Stewart. This is No. We are presenting today on a system that we built called Leap Motion Therapy. So this is a system that is built for helping people with occupational or physical therapy, specifically of the hand, recovering fine motor skills and abilities. So one of the problem that we're facing here is that hundreds of thousands of people in America at least suffer from strokes every year, and then there are thousands of other people that need physical therapy for other reasons, who lose ability in their fingers from strokes or from surgeries or from a number of other conditions that can be rehabilitated through therapy. And a lot of that therapy currently involves a lot of very repetitive, simple tasks like picking up a penny and putting it back down again. Just simple things that people can do over and over again. But a lot of that is not very exciting and kind of boring and not very encouraging for people to do. And it's also pretty hard to measure people's success. There's not a lot of quantifiable ways to measure that. And it also takes up a lot of doctors' time reviewing people, meeting with people, and watching them, seeing how they're doing, and just judging by eye the progress they're making.
Yeah, so our solution is to gamify the whole process. So right now, one of the main problems in the industry is the doctor time is really expensive. It's hard. It takes a long time to train to become a doctor, and it's much shorter time to be a nurse and stuff like that. And so one of the main focus on our solution is we want to free up the time of a doctor, so that like the patients can do the exercise at home. And the doctor, they spend their time not looking at the patient, picking up the penny and drop it down. They spend time to look at the report, so like they can create a personalized coaching section or exercise for that given patients. And the report and the result will be measurable. So what percentage you can see the increase in the process that this time they do better than the next time, how much percent it is, and it will be reported. So the core technology we use is the Leap Motion. This one right here, and you're going to track the movement of the hands, fingers, 10 fingers, 2 hands, and it's sub-millimeter precision, and we increase the rate of the frame to about 100 frames per second. So talking about the advantage of our solution is the first thing is the result is quantifiable. So the doctor can see how well actually the patient are doing better based on this time compared to the last time, and the exercise expandable. So it is technology we can do with different things, penny or whatever you want to do. There's a lot of creativity involved, and the data is transferable. So the patients can do the exercise at home, and the doctor sitting there in the office and look at the result, and maybe the doctor can invite patients over to the office or not. They don't have to come if they are already done with the process. And it's more engaging experience, gamifying, and better use of the doctor's time. So here's our design for the applications. That I can see is quite a bit of a leap motions, and a lot of users can hit the server at the same time in the website front end facing the clients, and they can do like login, registration, exercise, or assessment on them. In the front end, we use the technologies Leap Motions right there. 3.js and D3, just the two libraries for the graphic show of the front end. In the back end, we use Node.js and Node Express. And the back end is MongoDB. It's one of the advantage of using this like mean stack is expandable. MongoDB is scalability. I mean, when we hit like 1,000, even hopefully million of users, we still would handle it.
So help me understand why Leap Motion Controller under the website, and are you referring to client-side use of things then, or I'm not understanding why Leap Motion Controller right below the website here.
We're using a JavaScript library for the Leap.
Uh-huh.
It's called Leap.js, and so it's running. Yeah, it is client-side.
Okay, so you're referring to the JavaScript file there where you're talking about the actual hardware
Right, yeah.
device.
So this is the actual hardware device.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the JavaScript. Okay. All right, so without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into the website itself. So this is the prototype of what the website looks like currently. Besides this window, that would look a little nicer. So
This is my hand, by the way.
yeah, that's a visualization of Mom's hand. So in the website, we have two main divisions. We have activities and assessments. And so activities are set up as practice activities, little tasks that people can do. They're kind of more gamified and are designed to just be an exercise. And we're not tracking a lot of data on the actual movements. We were planning on tracking a whole lot of data and analyzing it all, but it turned out that just doing an activity for 20 or 30 seconds would generate about 10 megabytes of data, which was a lot to transfer up and down the pipe and store on the server. So the approach that we took now is have these activities that are exercises and are scored more like games are scored. So you get a certain number of points, and then we track those points, and you can see your progress in the points. And then we also have assessments, which are very short, controlled tasks that people can do that we can actually measure all the individual movements and all the finger tracking and analyze that in more depth to get a more physiological analysis of progress. So I'd like to ask someone to come up. Is there anyone who wants to come up and try this?
Dr. Jenkins!
Yes. Dr. Jenkins. All right. So we'll go ahead and have you create an account real quick. So we'll have you register.
It could be a username.
And use a password that you use often.
Password reuse is a...
Everybody one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 overtook password is the highest.
You're going to sell my information, anyone?
No, we are gathering.
Don't put your real birthday. You never do that. Whoa, he is old.
Man. So the only reason we're looking for birthday here is to get your age, to get your current age, so that there is a lot of potential difference between people of different ages. So we can use your age to better track your actual progress.
So why do you track of male or female?
Probably the same thing. All right. So go ahead and head to the activities page, and we'll start with the slingshot, the first one on the left.
Did you guys talk about the actual controller in your presentation? Yeah. I mean, do you all know what the Leap Motion controller is?
A little bit. So yeah, so I'll give a brief overview of that. So it's this device. It's about the size of a stick of gum. Pretty small. It plugs in via USB, and it can track, like Nam said, it can track 10 fingers and 2 hands all at once.
We can see.
Right. And it kind of picked up some movements while I was doing stuff there. But so it feeds back a data set that tells me the positions of all your fingertips and a whole bunch of other statistics that it calculates based on that. Okay. So let me restart this. So the way that this activity works, it's meant to practice gripping. So if you reach out and grip with your whole hand. Let's start over. Should have given you a better explanation. Okay, so just reach out and grab right now, and then you should have the ball, and you can move it up and down, and aim, and then you let go to fire. And then do it 2 more times. It does it 3 times. right, so you got 78 points. So we'll go ahead and submit that, and then that uploads to the Mongo database. We'll do another one quick here. So this is a target shooter game, so you use your hand like a gun, and you point it, and you can see the little cursor moving around. Not that cursor. Faster. There you go. So you had 4 hits and 5 misses. So we'll submit that one. So that one also pushed up to the database. And then the last one here, this one is more of just an experiment. It doesn't actually track anything yet. But you put your hand out and you can like shrink your hand, and the leap, one of the functions it has is that it will give you the radius of a projected ball that you were holding in your hand. So it's as if you had a ball in your hand, and it will tell you how big it is and the position of it. So that's what this was using. It didn't work quite as well as we had hoped, so we didn't end up finishing this into anything that submits any data. Have you do one more thing. So we currently have one assessment in here. And so this one, you reach out with one finger, and you point, and you should be able to see a cursor moving around. So you go over to the start dot, and then you bring it up to the end. All right, and
he's lying.
The score here isn't accurate, but
That's right, it was a 90 at least.
adjust that. So on this one, we're tracking a couple different things. So we're tracking all this XY positioning, and then later on the server, we do some analysis on that, and there are 3 main stats that we calculate. So they're all based on an ideal line from the start point to this end point, and the things that we're calculating is the area between this curve that you drew and the ideal line. So a lower area is signifying better performance. And then we also calculate the max deviation, so probably this point here is going to be a certain number of pixels away, and so that's what it's going to calculate. And then the last one is flips, and so it's how many times you went from moving left to moving right, or from moving up to moving down. And so all of those are metrics of progress and of ability on this that Dr. Jenkins helped us come up with those and some of those calculations from research that he's done in the past. So after you do some of those, we have this reports page. I'm going to log you out and log in NUM because we have a bit more data with NUM, so we'll see some better reports. So this is the reports page. It's fairly simple right now. It's doing some charting. This is using d3.js to render these charts on the front end. And so we have those metrics that we talked about, the area under the curve, and the flips, and the max deviation, which all turn out to be pretty similar. And each one of the points on this line is a different assessment. And this is going back to March 21st was the first assessment that the non-user did, and then to about today. And then we also have some stats on the activities. So this is the slingshot activity. Nom did it 3 times and increased his score greatly the 3rd time. And then on the target shooter, this is a hit percentage. And so
go back to your assessments there.
Yeah.
So how do you interpret area under curve in respect to, do you expect greater variation, or I would assume lesser variation?
Yeah, lesser is better, and it's explained in this sidebar here that a low area indicates more accurate performance. So each one of these metrics kind of says what's better, what's worse. So looks like Nom didn't do so good at the end. I think it was actually me doing these, so can't really blame Nom. But over time, as we continue to run this and do more studies with more people, we figure out what trend line should be and at what stage in your process or your progress where you should be approximately to see how you compare to what most people are doing at that point. So we don't have that data currently, but that's something that we would definitely want to add in. And, adding that into the demographic data, right, that we gathered. So that's pretty much our project there. So we should be able to switch back to the presentation. That didn't quite work.
That's my code. It's live stream.
Let's see.
Minority report, we're here.
There we go.
So after like 1 semester doing the whole project, lesson learned, it's steep learning curve for us with all the new technologies. Node.js, Express, E3, 3JS, and the lead motion controller was tough. Steep learning curve, and MongoDB is the first time we used it to JSON. We used it a couple times, but like never actually do a website application on it. And feedback helps. So before we planned to do the really complicated analysis on the assessment, right? We try to do 3Ds, but feedback from Dr. Jeff Jenkins, he said, like, just try to do something simple, prove the concept work first, and so we moved back to the 2 points to point, calculate 3 of the calculations, error under the curve, flips, and standard deviations, and now we can see at the standard the fact is it's working. And the last thing is we need to hire a professional designer because we spend so much time on designing the website. And I think we better spend our time on developing the algorithm and the back end part of it, and just trying to leap off the front end design to some professional. Obviously, they can do a much better job than what we have right now. And for the future product and limitations, the future products, well, I think one of the first things we want to do is we want to do a research of what is the difference between the actual person picking up the penny and oh man. And like that's like the actual person who pick up the penny compared to the one who
exactly it.
that was
Your hand gesture.
the Conco. So compared to the one who use our application and see that like others the same, so we can replace the normal exercise with these applications. And in the futures, it's personalized coaching. So we would love to have something back end running to see if this person's got this score on this assessment, got this much of score hit and misses in the activities, like what assessment or activities that we recommend them in the next step. So that geared toward that patients a little bit more, and for sure more assessment and activities, like more engaging experience. And one of the limitations that we have is the lead motion itself. The lead motion is a great technology, don't get me wrong, but it still has some of the limitations that we cannot get by. For example, like when we do the swarm fear, if we do like that, you're gonna have a hard time picking it up. But if you get straight, if you have the finger go inside of the hand, you have a hard time picking it up. But if you straight the fingers, you pick it up pretty well. So we hope, like again, if it's in the future, we have some improvement or updates on the lead motions.
This one's so important, and you know it goes along with validating with experts, and you know kind of is the penny pickup the same thing as what you're thinking? Very well could create an occupational therapy application where you're training them to do something that's not beneficial because it raises their score, when in reality the finer motions are what they really need to focus on. It's so critical you get that right. You know, probably nothing more devastating than saying, hey, look at how great this is, and it causes more pain than what it helps.
Yep. So that is the end of our application, of our presentations, and now we open for questions.
What questions do you guys have?
How much did this one cost? $80.
What would you say?
How much did this one cost? $80.
yeah.
So the question I have you met with professional, like physical therapists to see what kind of activities would be beneficial?
We haven't. So we did some research, and Dr. Maservi gave us some information from his brother-in-law. So I did some research to find out what we thought was going to be the best. Obviously, if we were going to deploy this, we'd want to meet with people and actually figure that out. A lot of this was a proof of concept and building up a platform that could support those things. And then actually implementing the activities and assessments would be a future thing.
Plans for the future?
Yeah, so actually, didn't we have a... Yeah, that was the last thing. So some of the things that I mentioned, the that would want to develop more of these assessments and figure out how beneficial they actually are, do some studies, and reach out. I'd love to reach out to some physical therapists and do some trial runs with patients and testing.
I just mean, are you going to make this happen?
Are we going to?
Is
Is
I would
this
like
just
to.
a capstone or is it
Yes,
more than that?
Is this just a
And
project?
I'm interested in a frank answer, not the answer you think a professor would want to hear.
Yeah, I would like to. I don't think I'm going to have time in the near future.
I think I'm trying to push it forward.
You will?
Yeah, I will.
So I'm thinking about the assessments, and I imagine that if someone's tired or, or it's first thing in the morning, that their hand precision is going to change quite a bit. Have you thought about how you're going to put some instructions or something in there so that you're comparing apples to apples throughout the assessments? Or how you'll normalize that?
One of the things that I thought about that would maybe handle that a little bit is to make them do some practice ones before they can do an assessment that is actually tracked. So they might do that assessment 3 or 4 times and then go in and do it. So I don't know if that would solve all of those problems, but I think that could help.
Or in the future, we can do some research about like what activities that relate directly to that assessment, so we can let them go through the activity first and before actually let them continue the assessment. We might not even have those 2 separate tabs in the future of activity or assessment. They have to do some activity first and hit continue on the pop-up to go to assessment. Yeah.
So other than that, we don't have.
All right, anything else? All right, thanks, gentlemen. All right, great presentations. We have a half-hour break. Our next presentation is up in the lab at 3:30, so we'll see you then.
Who is that?
That's Dustin.